Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Got a lot of videos to film today, so I'm not going to muck around. Today we're talking about paper. Now, paper is just as important really in this hobby and what we use as fountain pen users as the pen and the ink is. The paper can determine the performance of the pen and the ink just as much as either element. So your choice of paper is really important. There's a huge range of brands. I have a desk full of paper here, and you know, everything from the Rhodia paper that we know and love, and Tomoe River, of course, which is fabulous and comes in so many different formats. Not to mention a range of brands like Kunasawa, Travelers, Clairefontaine, Midori, Milligram, which uses Fabriano paper, Notco, Leuchtturm, Nemesign, Rollbarn, Life Stationery, Greenwood Classics, and Franklin Christoph, who all use paper that is considered fountain pen friendly to some degree. What I'm going to do today, though, is I'm going to talk about three different levels of paper. I'm going to talk about paper that I think is really good sort of economy paper, as well as paper that I think should be avoided, and then paper that is my favourite paper to write on. So basically, I'm going to do writing samples in the paper I really like. And I'm not going to write in the ones I don't like, because there's a reason that I don't like them, and those reasons are well known in the industry to be for many reasons. But we'll start at that end, at the end that I don't like, and one isn't necessarily this particular brand, but this particular paper product, and that is stone paper. Stone paper is made from a mix of ingredients including recycled stone. This is the Egami Notebook, well, it's remnants of an Egami Notebook, and it uses stone paper, and I'll just show you. Here is, I did some ink tests here. I'm not sure how visible that will be, but you can see the paper, the ink feathers, and yeah, it's not particularly well, well, it just doesn't perform overly well, particularly with ink. And pens can tend to grip in it. It's got an unusual quality, this paper. It's very smooth, but the pens do tend to grip, and particularly as a left-handed writer, where we push across the paper, we do get a bit of grip there. The other issue that I've not noticed, but some people have suggested would be an issue, is that it would actually grind the nibs, because it is a hard paper in that way. So I avoid it. I suggest other people avoid it. It doesn't perform well anyway. It's a bit of a novelty. So I choose not to use stone paper. The other one, and this is the only book by this brand that I have, is Moleskine, or however you want to, Moleskine, however you want to say it, but Moleskine. I got rid of all my other Moleskine notebooks because they just don't perform well. Once again, there's incredible bleed and feather on this paper. It is really, in the last few years, the paper quality has really diminished. Before, you know, it was regarded as one of the best quality notebooks, and if you're just a ballpoint pen user or pencils and things like that, Moleskine actually, for pencils, Moleskine's actually nice paper to write on. But as a fountain pen user, this paper is just about useless. Now, of course, I can mention things like student notepads and copier paper and all these sorts of things, but they're a given. They're not designed to be fountain pen friendly, or they're not designed to be higher end paper. These are papers that you spend a considerable amount of money on, and I think they should perform better or just not be used in general. So the next round of paper I'm going to look at, and I'll start to do writing samples in a second of these, is sort of that mid-range paper that or sort of slightly more budget-friendly paper that I think is really great. This notebook might look pretty nondescript. It's just a basic B6 black cardboard cover. It's from Muji. Now, Muji is a Japanese retailer who have international stores. They're well known for their stationery products, amongst other things like the gel pens and all of that. I actually really like their paper. This is sort of like my daily note-taking paper. These notebooks are really affordable. The paper performs really well. It's not too smooth. It's got a nice little bit of tooth on it. Mostly, so like I get the grid ruling, but they're really decent notebooks and incredibly well priced and quite durable. The other brand I like to use for a lot of my everyday writing is what are known as the black and red notebooks. These are made by Oxford, use optic paper. This is the lined version, just a basic spiral bound notebook. I think they're really great paper. The paper performs well. You get a little bit of sheen and shading, which is always really nice. So we'll look at those in a second. But for me, there are two brands of paper that just don't get enough attention. One gets a little bit more, and one should be getting a whole lot more. We'll start with what is my favourite brand for things like journaling and that is the Barren Fig Notebooks. Now, this paper isn't going to give you a whole lot of sheen or shading, but it's a joy to write on. It is a slightly, once again, toothy paper. It comes in many ruling options and colour options for binding, soft, hardcover, different sizes. Really lovely books, well made. They look great. And the paper performs really well. Not a lot is going to bleed through this paper, as I use this for my everyday journaling. And the last brand is Apica. Now, this is another Japanese brand. It's a smoother paper, but it is just a joy to write on. Super affordable as well. There's not a huge amount of options in terms of hardcovers and different line rulings and all those sorts of things. But in terms of the quality of the paper performance, you are not going to get much better than this. And once again, for everyday note-taking, I think these are absolutely fabulous. So let's change camera angle. I'll do a very quick writing sample in these and sign off. Thank you for watching. Okay, so here are the very quick writing samples. Let's start with the black and red here, using Oxford or optic paper. See, I've done some writing tests here in the back in the past, but so what I'll just do is very quickly just write do a little writing sample, and we can see how the paper performs. So I'm writing here with my Lamy 2000, which is very well known as an absolutely wonderful pen, and in this one I've got a medium, and it's a nice sort of wet medium, and I have Lamy Dark Lilac ink in here at the moment. So we have the black and red notebook by Oxford, and this is a Lamy 2000 with Lamy Dark Lilac ink. As you can see, this is a pretty wet pen. It performs nicely on this paper. The paper is quite smooth, but not sort of waxy. It's certainly not got too much tooth on it. It allows for shading of the ink. I'm not sure how well that sort of picks it up here, but yeah, you can see it performs really nicely, this paper on the front side, but there's no feathering or bleed or anything like that, as you can see. So let's see what it does on what's done on the reverse. And as you can see there, very little. There's very little ghosting. There's a tiny bit of ghosting, not heaps. Remembering this is only a single sheet, I've not put it back because it's not dry yet. Because it does take a bit of time to dry this ink on this paper. You can see that there's still some, it's quite wet there. But there's no feathering, no bleed, absolutely no bleed. But what you can see is the sheen of this ink. It's starting to come through, and so you get that on this paper, which is just wonderful. So I cannot recommend this paper enough. Next we have the Muji paper. Now these notebooks are an economy notebook, so they're not going to have the same build quality, say, as some of the more expensive notebooks on the market, but what they do have is relatively nice paper. So here we have the Lamy 2000 with a medium nib, and it's Lamy Dark Lilac. Nice wet ink again, or still same ink. Nice paper. Let's see it up close so you can see how the paper has performed. And you know, there's no feathering, no bleed, no feathering or spread or anything like that. There's a little bit of nice shading there, and I'm not sure how well the camera will pick it up, but hints of that lovely sheen that Lamy Dark Lilac is known for, the gold sheen there. And on the reverse, nothing has come through once again. Once again, ghosting of course, but no bleed on this paper. So this is a very affordable, very nice fountain pen paper with just that little bit of friendly tooth. Okay, now we go to sort of what I consider to be two of my favorite brands. I'll start with Apica here. Now, these are once again very affordable. It doesn't have the same amount of options as some of the other brands of paper, like the Muji in that way, but really nice paper for use with fountain pens or any pen, really. It's just lovely paper. So, Lamy 2000 with a medium. And the ink is Lamy Dark Lilac. Smooth, wet paper, very little tooth on the paper, very, you know, nice, you know, sort of paper to write on. A little bit of texture, just enough to feel the paper on there, or feel the pen on there. See some lovely shading that sort of come through, and there will be sheen once the ink dries. Once again, this is a coated paper. It's very, very smooth. So you will, you know, take a little bit of time to dry, but upshot of that, of course, is the fact that you will get that shading and sheen. Let's look at the reverse side and see what's happened here. There is virtually nothing, almost no ghosting, and this is a pretty, as you could see, a pretty wet sort of pen and ink. Nothing has come through. This is beautiful paper. One thing that's interesting about this ruling is that it's got these little markers showing every 5 lines. It's just really lovely paper, and these books are really nicely made. These should be much better known notebooks. They are widely carried, but not spoken anywhere near enough. Lastly, we have the beautiful Barren Fig notebooks. Now, this has had quite a lot of tests. I did a review on this and I'll link it down below. All these inks performed really, really nicely on this paper. You know, we got not a whole lot of sheen or anything like that, but I used watercolor paints, I used textures, I used brush pens, I used highlighters, pencils, you name it, I used it. And really only the Sharpie markers started to sort of come through there. As you can, if you look on the page, there's sort of nothing from all those fountain pens. Even did a little water test here. Used, this is I can't remember the name of this ink off the top of my head. Gosh, it's probably written here somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you know, an ink with sheen. I think it might have been Ackerman Shocking Blue, and the other sort of writing tests. And really, nothing has happened at all on this paper. So let's do a writing test, seeing as I've done it all with the other pen. Let's do it here with this one as well. So we have the Lamy 2000 with a medium nib with Lamy Dark Lilac. You know, it's a toothier paper. There's a bit more texture to it here, but it's smooth enough. It feels nice to write on. It gives you some nice shading. Not a huge amount of sheen. It's a little bit more absorbent than some of the other paper, but I actually don't mind that at all. I think it actually still feels really nice to write on. And as we expected on the back, no bleed. These notebooks are my absolute dream notebook. No pen performs badly, no ink performs badly. I just wish they didn't cost so much to get here in Australia. You have to order them from the United States and take a bit of time. Postage is pretty horrendous, but they're absolutely worth the investment. Really, really lovely books. Well, that was my little explanation of paper and what I like in paper, some of the brands that I choose to go for. As I showed at the very beginning of the video, there are so many brands of paper and so many different sorts of paper made from different products and different sorts of pulp and all that sort of stuff. Different rulings, different sizes, different weights. So there's something for everybody. I've shown the ones that I really like, and I hope that if these are brands that you're not familiar with, that you go and find them and have a look at them. Everyone will want something different from their paper, but I think what we all want is a good, solid performance. We don't want bleeding, we don't want feathering. So I hope you found something useful in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch with me using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @the_offstage_me, which is linked down below. So yeah, please get in touch on one of those platforms and let me know what you're up to. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.